Thanks again for joining me. This week marked the beginning of the 2024 Maryland General Assembly session. We have an incredible Senate and House delegation working for you in Annapolis, including many key leaders on important committees and caucuses. I look forward to working with every member of our 35-person delegation, the largest in the state, to advance our county's agenda. This year also marks the second General Assembly session for the Moore and Miller administration. This week I was able to meet with Governor Moore and discuss our county's legislative priorities, as well as the need to modernize the state's system of financing transportation infrastructure projects. I believe that the greatest budgetary challenge our state is facing is funding our transportation infrastructure. This is not a problem that we can expect the state to resolve alone. As I've said before, the way to resolve this revenue challenge is for Maryland to give the counties the authority and ability to create their own solutions to address these challenges, very similar to what's been done in Northern Virginia. Virginia started down the same path around a dozen years ago. They were in the same mess that Montgomery County was, unable to fund infrastructure, unable to build transportation projects. They went and created local taxing authority at the county levels, as well as broader multi-jurisdictional level taxing authorities. The taxes are primarily levied on commercial property, and they raise hundreds of millions of dollars a year for transportation projects. Just so you know, Northern Virginia's taxes are far higher on commercial property than taxes in Montgomery County. Let me say that again, far higher than in Montgomery County. If you were in Fairfax County in Tyson's Corner, your taxes on commercial property would be more than $1.50. In Montgomery County, they're $1.04. The same is true for the District of Columbia, where commercial property taxes are $1.89 compared to Montgomery County's. Raising money through these special development districts enables Virginia to make massive investments in transportation. The development community actually went to Richmond with the county government to lobby the state, where the governor and legislature were controlled by Republicans, and asked them to give this taxing authority to Northern Virginia counties. The Republican governor at the time thought this was one of the greatest moves they made to encouraging economic development in Northern Virginia, and he was right. The taxes would only be used for transportation infrastructure, so the jurisdictions could not use it to replace general fund spending on things like housing and healthcare and stuff like that, only for transportation. The taxes were tied to paying off loans to pay for specific infrastructure projects, so the developers knew that the money was being invested to improve the business climate. And the investment in transportation drove economic development. They took the long view in Virginia, that these taxes would build an economy that grew, created jobs, new businesses, and success. Here in Maryland, we've been unable to do any of this because any big project is totally dependent on state funding, and decisions to fund big projects are made by legislators, the vast majority of whom do not live in the counties that are asking for money. I mean, just imagine Maryland has 35 legislators. We go off to Annapolis, and they're trying to bring back projects for money for billion-dollar projects in our county, and they're asking states, or other counties I should say, you have no stake in this to fund that. That's a hard ask. In a way, the result is not surprising at all, and the result is bad for Maryland, and it's bad for Montgomery County. I'm glad that the governor, as well as fellow county executives and legislators, are seeming receptive to looking at these reforms. During the upcoming session, we'll also be working towards advocating for legislation that will continue our effort to combat climate change, improve education and health outcomes, as well as create more affordable housing opportunities and increase early childhood opportunities. Specifically, we're going after funds for our bus rapid transit network and other transportation links, as well as supporting legislative efforts to create opportunities for the state to increase the volume of housing production and to help address the county's affordable housing crisis. One of the specific things we've asked the state is to modify some of its programs, which right now pretty much only serve rental development, and allow that money to be used to create ownership communities. The governor has prioritized increasing home ownership in minority communities. That's not going to happen unless we build ownership opportunities. So current laws don't allow the state money to be used on ownership projects. So we need some changes or tweaks to these laws so we can build a broader range of projects and help people build equity with their payments. To read more about our legislative priorities for the upcoming session, please visit montgomerycountymd.gov/OIR. Police departments around the nation and region have struggled recently with proper staffing. MCPD has encountered similar problems. In 2022, MCPD was down 102 sworn officers, and at the end of 23, we're likely to be down 175 officers. We must continue to address this deficit aggressively to ensure proper levels of public safety. Last year, we instituted a $20,000 signing bonus for new Montgomery County Police Department officers. This bonus helped our recruitment efforts, but we're going to have to do more. During my weekly media briefing this week, MCPD Chief Marc joined me to discuss the next steps. One way to get more officers on the street is to give them help. We're working on adopting new policies that would make it easier to rehire retired officers in supportive roles. In fact, right now, we can't rehire people who retire from the county. This will enable us to replace sworn officers who are doing desk work and move them back onto the street where they're badly needed and use these officers to do the kind of work that doesn't put them on the street. The policy changes will also help Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service. The idea is to use the experience and knowledge of veteran officers and firefighters in part-time roles to strengthen each organization without thinning out the available officers, firefighters, and paramedics. One of the other beneficiaries would be our call center, where we continue to struggle to find people to work in the call center because of the stress, but this might be a perfect job for somebody with knowledge of public safety who's willing to come in and work 1 or 2 shifts a week. Next, we're reevaluating existing policies that exclude someone from becoming a police officer if they'd smoked marijuana in the past. Now that recreational marijuana is legal in Maryland, it does not make sense to continue to penalize adults for prior marijuana use. Officers should comply with the law and rules set by the department, and eliminating somebody from consideration, however, simply because they're honest about their prior drug use or were caught in the past with what is now a legal substance is pretty short-sighted. The potential recruits are lost to other jurisdictions. The pandemic impacted our efforts to hire. Not only are we in a position where we have to catch up with those missed opportunities, we also have to prepare for when current officers will retire. We'll devote more resources to coming up with further solutions for our recruitment issues. We're actually hiring a firm to help us with recruitment, and it's also imperative for us to keep in mind how our police departments reflect our changing communities. We know that when police officers look more like the communities they police, it helps improve public trust. One of my top priorities in public safety and one of the best ways of combating crime is having enough people to do the job. And I'm excited about other opportunities to hire local candidates, like the county's partnership with Montgomery College to give students a chance to join MCPD through the Police Cadets Program. We will continue to recruit, train, and retain the best officers from Montgomery County to address the community's concerns now and into the future. There's no quick fix to this, but we are going to fix it. On Monday, we'll mark Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s holiday with the county's annual Day of Service. It's meant to both honor the civil rights leader and encourage the community to listen to his call to help make this a better place. Registration is open now for events throughout the day that will help our community partners with their missions to help those who are in need. Some of the service projects include putting together craft kits for children in hospitals, packing together hygiene and snack bags for people living in transition, and putting together boxes to help homebound seniors when bad weather makes it impossible to reach them. These efforts are led by the Montgomery County Volunteer Center. They're encouraging you to sign up for one of 7 other activities planned at the community rec centers in Silver Spring, Mid-County, and the Up-County. You can also find more information about these events at montgomerycountymd.gov/volunteer center. I want to thank our wonderful partners, including local fraternities and sororities and AmeriCorps, for working together to help meet the needs of our community. I also want to thank the volunteers who plan on helping on a service project this upcoming Monday. Also on Monday, the Strathmore will host Montgomery County's annual birthday MLK tribute, and the celebration will start at 4 p.m. The theme for this year's show is, Where Do We Go From Here? We Choose. The program will focus on Dr. King's positive impact through courage, compassion, and perseverance. We're asking all those attending this event to help out a neighbor by donating items like toothbrushes, toothpaste, and deodorant. These items will help our homeless shelters as they experience a surge in demand because of the winter weather. We hope to fill a truck with these new toiletries, new towels, washcloths, all the while celebrating Dr. King and aspiring to meet his dream of choosing how to make this world a better place for everyone. I remember the impression that seeing Dr. King had on me when I was still a teenager. I took the bus from Silver Spring to the March on Washington, and I could feel the excitement he created among the crowd. Far more beneficial was the spark it created in so many people like me to think about their community, justice, and frankly, to open our eyes to the extent of racism that pervaded society as America was going into the 60s. America had even figured out a way to extend slavery through an agricultural policy called debt peonage that was still around in 1960. It stuns me today, actually frankly horrifies me to see Americans who lack any understanding of slavery, its impact on people, how ongoing and unending discrimination made it impossible for the country to genuinely be a land of equal opportunity. The expectation that black people should just simply have succeeded in the aftermath of the Civil War reflects the ignorance of people who can't comprehend the struggle to emerge from poverty when the institutions of society fundamentally put a foot on your neck and tied your feet together. To me, racism has always been wrong, slavery's always been wrong, and denying of people's humanity is always wrong. And that's why I fought as a college student to desegregate the University of Maryland. And years later, I spent 17 years as an elementary school teacher where I saw firsthand how the long-term impacts of slavery and racism are manifest in the lives of people today. It has generated impacts on people for generations now. Poverty is a crippling burden on families. When children grow up in poverty, they can feel like there's no way to succeed. I've been in the classroom with 10 and 11-year-old children who told me they didn't think they were going to live to see 25. When hope is gone, that contributes to some of the things we work so hard as a society to address, like drug use and crime. If there are no good choices to make, there are also no bad choices to make. Instead, we need to continue to push for Dr. King's goal of equality to help give everyone a chance to create their own path forward. A little perspective is helpful as we see more respiratory illnesses impacting our hospitals week to week now. Last year at this time, the Baltimore Sun reported close to 800 hospital beds have been taken up by COVID-19 patients. This past week, just under 550 beds were occupied by COVID-19 patients statewide. But it's nearly a 30% increase from the week before, so we don't know if this is the peak of the trend or whether this is going to continue to go up. Concern over COVID-19 is elevated as it has been throughout the year. Our hospitals, urgent cares, and doctors' offices are dealing with the rise of both flu and COVID-19, and with other respiratory illnesses also contributing to the patient load, we're seeing acute care and intensive care beds filling up with more people. All healthcare facilities across Maryland have been told by the State Health Department that face masks are recommended. For nearly 4 years, Montgomery County's health team has stayed on top of COVID-19 issues. We no longer serve the same role as we did through the pandemic, and our shift is focused to help the medically uninsured receive their COVID-19 vaccines. The county is still sharing test kits and face masks with the public and our community partners. I encourage everyone to get their flu and COVID-19 vaccines, and if you're older like me, or young children, or have young children, get the RSV vaccine, because that may be needed too. The surge in illnesses is something we've come to expect every January. There's just one more illness added to the mix now. But there's no need to panic, just take care of yourselves and as we weather this latest wave of respiratory illnesses. So finally, parents will want to remember that summer camp registration begins for county residents on Tuesday at 6:30 a.m. The Recreation Department will hold one more summer camp fair on Sunday, January 14th at the East County Community Recreation Center in Silver Spring to give participants an idea of what to expect from some of the many camp offerings that we'll have. To learn more about the programs or to learn how to be ready for registration, please visit montgomerycountymd.gov/REC. And that's a wrap for today. I hope you have a great week, and I'll be back again next week.